What do you value as a company? And does what you value translate into your hiring process? That's a really important question to ask yourself if you're a talent leader or an HR leader or even just a leader that's hiring. Like, what are the values of this company, and does it translate into our hiring process or our recruiting process? Because if your values are translated into your recruiting process, you get a number of things. You get a number of things. You get the kind of people that you want to work for the organization, right? Because you're finding people that match your values. If you match your recruiting process, if you align your recruiting process to the values of the organization, even the values of that department, right? Then you're going to attract people and bring people in that match those values or align with those values, or at least most of the values. And also what you get is that if you base your process off of your values that your company has, then you're also treating people well. You're treating candidates well, because we're just not candidates. We're actually human beings. And you're not just a business. You're not just an employer. You're actually a human being. And these are human beings interacting with each other and building a relationship. Because the candidate is initiating the process with you, because in most cases they're applying. Sometimes you are the one initiating it, but the candidate is the one that's applying. They're initiating it. So what are you doing to nurture that candidate? Because what if they're the right one? What if they're going to take your company to places that you never thought your company would go, especially if you're a small company? What if that one hire is going to take your company to places that you never expected to go in the time that you went there? How are you going to nurture that? Because you don't want to lose them because you mishandled them. So, you mishandle them as a candidate at that, so you lose them at the beginning. So I'm going to tell you with some things that I'm recognizing that I value, because I'm out here looking for a job. I ain't going to front with y'all. I'm out here looking for a job. So I'm going to tell you some of the things that I value. So I value that I start the recruiting process. I value that. And some of the reasons why you should value what I'm saying, even though I am an applicant, I am also your consultant. Okay? Because whoever hires me, they're getting a consultant, and that's what they want. That's why they're hiring me. They're hiring me because I'm consulting them in my expertise. Because they're not experts in everything. None of us are. So I'm advising them, and I'm advising them in my expertise. So that's why you want my opinion on this. And I advise customers like you all the time. So I see the best of the best and the worst of the worst. So, do you value time as an organization? That's important. If you value time, if you value your employees' time, they will value yours. If you value candidates' time, you're not going to hire someone who obviously does not value time. Right? Because you're not hiring someone that comes to interview late. In most cases, sometimes they may knock you off your feet, and they might have a really good reason behind it. But in most cases, someone who's late, you're not hiring them. You're not hiring the person who takes 2 or 3 days to send you their resume after you ask them. You're not hiring them because it took them 2 or 3 days to send you their resume. They don't value time. So how long is your process? Is your process 2 to 3 weeks? Or is your process 4 to 6 months? If it's 4 to 6 months, you're not valuing time. You're really not. If it's 2 months, you're not valuing time. Let's keep it real. If you're not telling the candidate what the recruiting process is, so they can adjust their time, like, it's not like candidates are out there sitting waiting for your phone call. They're doing things. They got lives. They're probably working. So if you're not telling the candidate what the recruiting process is, then you're not valuing them having the ability to make adjustments to their schedule to make sure that it can accommodate you. Just because you're in the seat of they want to work with me, you have a need. You need them. They need you, you need them. You're hiring somebody from that pool. So show the value of time. You're going to get the right candidates if you show the value of time. You don't need 3 months to find the right person in most cases. Actually, no. Let me rephrase. Because sometimes it takes 3 months to find the right person. There's some roles that are just difficult, and it can take 3 months to find somebody. But once people are in the application process, once they're in that pool, and you screen them, it shouldn't take 3 months for you to tell them that you're not the one, or you are the one. You value transparency. How are you showing that you value transparency? If your organization is not transparent with their employees, then you're not going to be transparent in your application process. And that's going to be a problem for some of your top candidates. And that's so if that's not something that y'all value, that's fine. But I can already tell you what your office look like. I can already tell you what kind of output. I can already tell you what kind of output you guys are getting if you're not transparent if you have a house that does not value transparency. I can tell you the dysfunction that's happening in that house. So that should be something that you should want. You should want value of transparency. And how you show the value of transparency in the recruiting process is by being transparent with the candidate. Do you value skills? Because skills are really what's the most important thing about you hiring someone. Do they have a skill of communication? Do they have a skill of discernment? Do they have a skill of change, problem solving? Right? If I'm a teacher, I keep on using this teacher because I get so many people who are teachers asking me about coming into HR that's always going to be my example. So if you're a teacher that's applying to an HR role, if you were in education administration and you're trying to go into HR administration, that person, and they applied to your role in HR administration. Like they want to be an HR manager or an HR partner. But they've been in education administration for, let's say 5 or 6 years. You shouldn't knock them out. Because there's so many things that they have done in that role as a teacher or in education administration that there's so many skills that they should have gained by those roles that will help the HR department. It's ridiculous. So you should consider that person. So do you value skills over number of years of experience and education? I'm not saying that education doesn't matter. I think education is vital. But is it required for is a bachelor's degree required for every job? I don't think so. Is a master's degree or a certification required for every job? I don't think so. Because they can get it through you. If you value that they have a certain certification, they can get it through you. If it's that important to you. You just don't want to pay for it. Let's just keep it a buck, right? So do you value skills, soft skills and hard skills? Because if the person is great at, let's say, accounting, if they're great at accounting or finance, but they don't have a skill of communication, what you gonna do with that? Like, and they're applying for a role that they report, where people report to them. What are you gonna do with that? Like, come on. But you hire them because they came from Harvard. And just because they came from Harvard and they worked at Accenture, you're going to take them on even though they don't showcase the value of communication, or the skill of communication, I should say. Okay. All right. And then lastly, communication. Is communication something that you value? I think you should. I mean, it goes along with, communication really encompasses time, transparency, and skills. I mean, you can communicate your expectations. You should be telling candidates what you expect of them. When you work for this company, we're going to expect X, Y, and Z. Because if you let them know what we're going to expect, then you can ask them questions about what you expect. Do you know what you expect from the person taking on that role? Because if you do, then you can articulate that to the candidate, and you can ask them questions about it, and they can give you examples of how they showcase that. It all comes full circle. If you value communication, then you're bringing people in that actually know how to communicate to the clients, communicate to the customer, communicate to their coworkers, communicate with their leaders, if they have the skill of communication. If you communicate with them, they're going to communicate with you. If you showcase that communication is important to us and we want to have this conversation, we're going to face conflict. We're going to face that because conflict is going to come up. We're going to face change. You're going to get the people that you want. You're going to get the kind of people that you want. Now, it's another skill to keep those people. Because if you put this into your recruiting process, but the rest of the organization does not match this, you're not going to keep them. So it's a different skill to keep them, but you can get them in the door. All right. So once again, know what your values are as an organization. And your recruiting process should be aligned with your values. However, these four values should be in there, should be a part of your recruiting process. You should value time, and you should showcase that you value time. You should value transparency. You should value skills, and you should value communication. It's as simple as that. It's easy, y'all. It's easy. All right. Later.